Hello, my name is Joshua, and this episode is about the growth and change in the astrology between the full moon on December 18th, 19th, 2021, and the new moon on January 2nd, 2022. Welcome to this episode about the changing energies in the astrology between the full moon on December 18th, 2021 to the new moon on January 2nd, 2022. The theme of this period of growth and change is refreshing perspectives with a refreshed perspective. So I can say that again, and then I'll go into explaining how I got to that. So the theme of these 2 weeks is refreshing perspectives with a refreshed perspective. So the full moon, any full moon, is about illumination of the seed impulse that was released at the previous new moon conjunction. And this particular full moon that was back on December 18th, depending on where you were in the world, is illuminating the space to personally discover, or the discovery of personal space and interrelationships. It's about helping us organize our freedom of choice and how we move forward. In the space that the moon is going through right now on the second half of this lunar cycle, before we get to the new moon on January 2nd, is revealing interconnectedness, or in other words, themes of unity, and our individual uniqueness. So it's highlighting themes of individuality and unity. And there's different answers at different levels depending on the scope. So just that those two themes are significant or the contrast in those themes is significant between the journey of these two charts. So one point of commonality between these two charts is that they're both bowl shapes. The full moon back on the 18th was a bowl shape between the moon and Mars, and those points show the edges of the bowl and the energies that are emphasized, and the bowl shape itself is, the energy of the bowl shape is concentrated at the midpoint of the bowl, which between the 28th degree of Gemini and the 5th degree of Sagittarius is right here at is in Pisces 16 degrees. That just happens to be right here at the descendant in the chart, but this discussion about the lunar phases is not location specific, so that's not really relevant. So the houses are also not really relevant. But both bowls are outlined by Mars. The full moon bowl on the 18th was outlined by the moon and Mars, and this upcoming new moon is outlined by Mars and Uranus. And Uranus is a higher octave of the moon, which really emphasizes a more transcendent approach of and I say transcendent, I mean like sudden awarenesses coming to mind. So in the full moon bowl back on the 18th, again, it's Pisces 16 degrees is right here in the middle of the chart, and that theme of that point is experiencing a flow of inspiration supports subjective strength. Great, Pisces 16 degrees one more time is experiencing a flow of inspiration that supports subjective strength. The new moon bowl coming up on January 2nd is outlined by Mars and Uranus, and the midpoint of the bowl is here at Aquarius 28 degrees. And both intelligent foresight and recognition of significance anchor the power of this bowl. So if we just look at the point where the energy is being concentrated between these two bowls, we see that we're moving from experiencing inspiration that supports our strengths to intelligent foresight and recognition of significance that this strength might amount to. So I might have already mentioned it, but this theme here, one transition that supports that theme of intelligent foresight and recognition of significance on the individual level is emphasized by Mars being the only planet that the moon conjuncts before the next new moon over here. So the moon will have conjuncted Mars, as we see here, right in, I guess, as we're getting close to the middle of Sagittarius. Mars is coming through to a square. Is coming through to a square with Neptune from its previous square with Jupiter. So also emphasizes the point in that Mars and Jupiter is personal recognition and personal new directions. And then Mars and Neptune is about how personal missions and personal directions relate to broader culture, which is what Neptune is about, which is also emphasized and supported by Jupiter going into Pisces to join Neptune during this phase of the lunar cycle. So Jupiter joining Pisces adds a lot of strength to Neptune. So we'll get more into that in just a moment. But Mars coming through to a square with Neptune helps inform our individual visions, clarify commitments and dedication to a prospective future, a developing personal relationship with culture. So next thing I want to talk about is that the new moon on January 2nd is in the third set of 5 degrees, right? 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15. The third set of 5 degrees here in the 13th degree of Capricorn. And that third set of 5 degrees in Capricorn encourages that whatever lessons are learned are a synthesis that seeds a new will to transcend, that supports a greater process of proving ourselves valuable to a group we identify with, whether that's our family unit, cultural group, or etc. So a synthesis that seeds a new will to transcend. Okay, so that new moon is balsamic to Jupiter as it's moving into Pisces, where it joins Neptune, and Neptune is working to awaken cultural transformations into the age of Aquarius. That new moon is in a waning trine to Neptune over here at the other edge of the bowl. And that's pretty tight, right? This is in the 13th degree and this is in the 11th degree. So it's at 118 degrees, and a perfect trine is 120 degrees, or if we're looking at it on the waning side, it's 270 degrees. And so in that waning trine to Uranus, what's kind of being awakened here, is that it supports grounding awareness of higher values into our mental processes. So we're getting new awarenesses of higher values. And Saturn in that waning square to Uranus also, exactly 30 degrees ahead of the new moon conjunction. That's where we get a theme around significance, with related to how we're creating new orders and new modes of making significance. So it just adds emphasis to the points that we've already kind of established. In that third guardian of Capricorn, that third 5-degree set of Capricorn, new discoveries create new perspectives that support and preserve future generations. So again, adding thematic fuel to the idea that refreshing perspectives with a refreshed perspective. So what future are we moving into? So Mars over here is in full phase to Uranus. The opposition is over here, but we're less than 45 degrees away from that full phase opposition, from that exact opposition. And that increases recognition and awareness of expanding individualized consciousness. The capacity to perceive will be highly emphasized on the individual level, whether that's the individual human level or the individual cultural group level or the individual national group level. It might be kind of interesting to see exactly what points on the earth the new moon will be in line to the earth with. So that might have some extra juicy information if somebody else wants to look that up. So Mars in full phase to Uranus also supports awareness and helps us anchor our personal perspectives within a perspective future that we see for ourselves. Uranus energy in the 11th degree of Taurus provides support for the awareness of what we're cultivating. Okay, and so now we'll get to, let's talk about real quick about the North Node. So the North Node hasn't really moved much. It takes about 18 and a half years to do one complete orbit of the chart, and it goes backwards. It goes clockwise, sweeping around and integrating all the other things. And in this chart, it stays between the 1st degree and the 2nd degree of Gemini. And what we're doing here is we're learning how to take responsibility for our multidimensionality and not feign innocence. No more, I didn't know. We're developing and integrating our awareness of new dimensions of reality that are within us in a big way. So consciousness is developing. Consciousness itself is developing, which is a big theme that we'll talk about throughout, but emphasize, so let's go now talk about Venus. Values are highlighted anywhere Venus is. Venus has done some really interesting things lately. In the full moon chart from back on the 18th, Venus was just ahead of Pluto, as you see here, in a sextile with Neptune. And once we get to the new moon here on the 2nd, it will have retrograded over Pluto and still be in retrograde a little farther away than it was from Pluto back at the full moon. At the full moon on the 18th, it was a degree, just about a full degree ahead of Pluto, went retrograde, and now it's about 4 degrees behind Pluto, still in retrograde. So what does all that mean, right? So Venus, whenever Venus is on top of Pluto, our relationship to governing values is changing. Venus transits Pluto retrograde during the segment of the lunar phase. It's between the new moon and Pluto. So values are really getting personal during this time, and we're getting a chance to refresh our values as we come up against gross personal and cultural transformation, which is what Pluto's about. So let's go look down here a little farther. So Mercury is outside of Venus and Pluto, emphasizing personal growth in relationship to the gross cultural transition we're moving through. Perhaps a complete transformation of thought is necessary to think clearly, depending on the circumstances we're in and our own personal charts. So with Venus so close to the new moon brings in balsamic energy, because the moon moves slower than Venus does. So what's coming up, the themes of this idea is that what's coming up, or what we're becoming aware of, and what's to be released in preparation for the new. Are those our personal cornerstones or symbolic fence posts? Things that we wouldn't take, things we wouldn't stand for, things we wouldn't accept, that now we're like, wow, maybe I'll think about that differently. These are some of the themes that are probably coming up these days. So, as I mentioned, Venus starts barely ahead of Pluto at our previous full moon. It retrogrades back over it. Is still in retrograde when the new moon happens. Our cultural values, our global values, and personal values are being transformed during these transits, intentionally alchemized and ascending, or spinning out into turmoil further, because energy doesn't care what you're doing, it just goes further and deeper in whatever direction you're already going. So the way we can, or what I'm looking to do with this energy, is to choose my pain and grow intentionally. So rather than haphazardly experiencing pain, I'm trying to choose it and grow intentionally. So that seems like it's about all that seems like that's about everything we've got for this chart. Again, the theme is refreshing perspectives with a refreshed perspective. If you've gotten some value from this, please like and share and comment, as it seems like all the YouTubers say to do. And please post if you have any questions or any feedback, and I will do my best to read those and see what I can do about implementing. And thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next episode.